30. I think we have 2 members yet, so we should be through here very shortly. Ms. Davids, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman Niels, and also thank you to Ranking Member Cohen for holding this hearing today. Thank you, of course, to our witnesses for taking the time to be here. You know, millions of passengers are able to board, fly, and disembark flights in the United States every year thanks to the scores of hardworking personnel across our country and the most advanced technology in the world. Unfortunately and heartbreakingly, sometimes terrible accidents do occur, like the mid-air collision of Flight 5342, which originated in Kansas, and the military aircraft PAT-25. I do want to acknowledge and share my heartfelt condolences to the families, some of who I know showed up here today, and to all the communities that are grieving right now. Overall, the United States does still enjoy exceedingly safe national airspace and does so without a second thought. Safety isn't free, though. From fully implementing next gen and upgrading our air traffic control systems to training and retaining folks like aviation safety specialists and air traffic controllers, we have to continue to invest the time and resources to ensure that we're protecting the flying public. I do want to note that in the entire time that I've been doing this job, I have seen the professionalism and the commitment to safety of our aviation safety specialists and our air traffic controllers. And I want to continue the conversation about that human capital investment that was started earlier by my colleague, Rep. Titus. I'd like to start with a question for Mr. Spiro and Mr. Daniels. Can you talk through how long is the training process for becoming a fully certified professional controller or certified airway transportation system specialist?
Thank you, Congresswoman, for the question. It takes approximately 2 to 3 years on average to become a fully certified air traffic controller.
Congresswoman, thank you for the question. So to be an airway transportation system specialist, it depends on the field of expertise that you go into, if it's communications or radar, automation, navigational aids, but it can take typically up to 3 years to get certified on that sort of equipment. I want to add that equipment is different around the country. So you don't have one instrument landing system, you don't have one radar, you don't have one type of communication. All of those things are different around the country, so the Academy has to maintain different sorts of equipment for folks to get trained, and that does cause the pipeline to get smaller, because you're instead of using 3 classrooms to train on one thing, you're using 3 classrooms to train on 3 different things.
And thank you, Mr. Spiro, because that actually leads into my second question, which is, I do think it would be helpful for folks to understand why it takes so long. I mean, I'm glad that you guys go through the rigorous training, but if you could talk a little to why it takes the amount of time it does for a certified professional controller or systems specialist, maybe if you could walk through the respective processes.
For air traffic controllers, the primary function is once they're hired, they'll go to an academy if they meet the initial qualifications of security, medical, and background checks. Once they go, they have training evaluation milestones that they have to hit. At the academy, if you don't reach a certain level of competency or ability to execute the tasks at hand, you're removed from air traffic control. Once you complete that model at the 3 years at Oklahoma, you then move to a facility. Then you go through bookwork. If you don't meet the standards, you're removed from air traffic control. Then you have to do simulation training. Once again, if you don't meet the standards, you're removed from air traffic control. And then finally, you move into actually talking to the aircraft. And all of this is built in order to have the level of competency, have the level of understanding, so that way when it's not just the routine day or it's the complex day, it's when that moment hits that you have no idea about, that puts you to rely on those fundamentals, is why we have such a rigorous training process.
Thank you.
And when it comes to the airway transportation system specialists, typically they bring some of that skill set to the table already. Most of them learned navigation in the military, and then they have to go through principal schools with radar or automation, navigational aids, and it takes a significant amount of time to get that, and then have to get certified on the equipment before they're able to go to work as journeymen.
Yeah, thank you. And Mr. Bunce, I will probably follow up because I did want to kind of bring forward some of the delays that we've seen with the FAA as they've rolled out some of the next-gen elements and the timeliness of those. I know that there's they're in the final phases also of some initial Datacom deployment. So we'll follow up with questions. And thank you so much for being here again. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Mr. Garcia, you're recognized.